Is it wax in your ears? Or?
No, it's this headgear, which we might as well talk about the proper clothing to sustain a winter in New Hampshire. Headgear is extremely important.
True, true.
And Claude, would you please explain some other item of clothing that's important?
Well, for gentlemen, this is probably shouldn't be said on air, but I have found that a fur-lined jock is very comforting.
And
you can have it with or without sequins. It's
with or without it?
Yeah.
And I suppose that's especially beneficial if you have to go out at the beginning of the winter to bring your brass monkey in off of the lawn. Is that correct?
True, true. People don't realize how many brass monkeys have lost integral parts of themselves in extremely cold weather. You know?
Now, I've noticed that you have an item around your neck. Could you explain that, and what is the utility of that?
A scarf is twofold. It keeps your neck warm and the muscles in your neck warm. So that means swallowing is much easier. So if you're consuming whiskey, which you need, you can now consume it with ease. You know, you're not restricted by cold muscles in your neck, and I find that's very important. You know.
Last thing you'd want is to take a big drink of whiskey and not be able to swallow it.
True, true. You know.
Now, I just want to point out that there are times in the winter in New Hampshire when it is important to intentionally take a drab of whiskey, a little draft of whiskey, and not immediately swallow it. And that would be a situation. You okay?
Yeah.
Claude? That would be a situation in which you get a sore throat. This is a very common event in the Northeast during the winter. If you get a sore throat, the best thing to do is take a big drink of whiskey like this. And then gargle it.
Do that well.
And then swallow it. Don't spit it out like Listerine.
Yeah. And let me give you a little tip on that is don't do that at the dining room table, folks. It's better to kind of do that in the
Sorry,
private.
Claude, I didn't hear that.
It's better you did that in the private, not at the dining room table.
Oh, okay. Now, there's another item of clothing that's important in the Northeast, and I'm surprised that my colleague Claude does not have them, and that is Norwegian drinking gloves. These Norwegian drinking gloves will keep you warm during the drinking season in the winter. However, notice that you can flip this part off and get your fingertips out in case you need to stir your whiskey. Like that. Norwegian drinking gloves usually can be purchased locally or online.
That is a good point. I came from a very poor family, and what we used to do is we take our old wool socks and cut the toes off and put them on our hands, and so our fingers could get out there and, you know, grab the glass. And,
but so did you have Norwegian drinking socks where you could pop the end of them off and stir your whiskey with your toes, you know, like this right here?
Yeah, no. See, we were a poor family. We only had the socks that Grandma made. You know, and when they wore out, we cut the toes off and cut a hole for the thumb to go through and put those on our hands, and that would help us hold the glass while we were having our whiskey, which got us through the winter. Because Grandma, getting to Grandma, she was a great, what do I want to say, in favor of a good belt at night. You know.
You mean like black belt or brown belt, or was she?
Belt of whiskey.
Oh, I thought you were saying maybe she was into karate.
I didn't want to, you know, put her in the wrong light because oftentimes we found poor Grandma under the table. She had imbibed a little bit too much. But God bless her, you know, the whiskey was good. She lived to, I think, a ripe old age of, I think it was either 38 or 39. You know.
So she had a good life.
Yeah, and the whiskey did it. You can blame, you know.
Yeah.
On the whiskey drinking.
And as I recall, I was at her funeral. When she died, they didn't need to embalm her. She was already embalmed.
She was pickled. Oh,
yeah.
She was, definitely. She was She was pickled to the tens. Yeah.
Which is another advantage of continual consumption of alcohol in the winter in the Northeast, which is you can save on embalming and funeral expenses because you're already embalmed.
A sad note on that is that Grandma's last wish was to be buried with a bottle in a casket. And when she's laid out, we put a bottle of whiskey in the casket with her. And I hate to say it, but as I was leaving, I happened to turn on and I caught Uncle Ferdinand stealing the bottle of whiskey.
Jeez.
It's terrible, but it never made it.
A very unchristian-like thing to do.
Yeah, it was a terrible thing. But the good point of that is he didn't want anybody to know he stole it. So he drank it, fell down the outhouse steps, and broke his neck. So crime doesn't pay.
What a terrible way to go.
Yeah.